How do I look? This from my wife of 10 years. Christy had successfully lost all the weight from our firstborn, Samuel, and was now preparing for a night out without the baby. My name is Trevor Barnes. Unfortunately, Christy didn't bother to dress up for me. I stayed home to babysit. She was anxious to hear what I had to say. I offered her a spin for me. The dress skimmed her rejuvenated taut waist and hips and showed off her healthy postpartum breasts. She had decided to breastfeed, so her breasts had increased in size during the hours she wasn't nursing baby Sam. She said she enjoyed feeding our firstborn. It gave her satisfaction. How would I know, I thought. She hadn't let me touch them since she'd given birth. Sam was now 3 months old and growing like the proverbial weed. I digress, though. I took another look at her dress. It draped in all the right places, intriguing and suggestive. Since Christy was 7 months pregnant, I hadn't experienced any sexual release other than manual. No, the doctor hadn't ordered tightening. Christy had decided on her own that sex could hurt Samuel. And then we needed to make sure she was fully healed after needing 3 stitches from her episiotomy. Now she was looking at me expectantly again. Her makeup was flawless, as was her hair. She had her usual, beautifully clear complexion, and her blue eyes shone with anticipation for the evening. Her nails were carefully painted, but something was missing. I took a deep breath. I think the way you look depends on whether you're dressing to entice me or someone else. If you stay at home, I like your breasts exposed and your skirt short. I can't see a panty line, so I'm assuming you're either wearing a thong, which you claim to despise, or your commando, which you also claim to despise. She hissed, but I held up my hand. She knew I hated being interrupted. Wait a moment. I haven't finished answering yet. Since you are dating girls, I used quotation marks, I find your attire strange. If you're dating your old friend, again in quotes, Bill Bailey, I'd think you look like a hooker looking for a good time. It's your choice how you interpret my assessment of your clothing. As befitted her gender, the outburst was quick and loud. How dare you insinuate that I'm dating Bill Bailey? I haven't seen him in months. I'm going out with friends and I'm not looking for good sex. She continued for a full minute before finishing. So what do you say to that? I demand an apology. Her face was speckled. Apparently the foundation hadn't been evenly spread across her face, as some areas still looked kind of tanned, and the rest was beet red with anger. Her arms were crossed over her beautiful breasts, which were heaving with anger. She tapped her heels on the floor in anticipation. I walked past her to the bedside table and pulled a package from the drawer. Then I returned to my original spot in front of the closed bedroom door, effectively blocking her from leaving suddenly. First of all, you're not wearing your wedding or engagement ring. Did you happen to forget them in anticipation of a night of fun and frivolity away from the constraints of motherhood and matrimony? She looked guiltily at her left hand. I suppose she thought I wouldn't notice. It didn't change the redness of her face. Maybe it was guilt and embarrassment. I mentally shrugged it off. I opened the bag and handed her some pictures I'd printed out today. They showed her in Congress with that asshole Bill Bailey. They showed her eating lunch, holding hands, then kissing, and the last picture showed her having unprotected sex with the bastard. The photos were date-stamped and taken within the last month. I guess you figured his pencil buddy wouldn't interfere with your recovery from pregnancy and childbirth. Bill seemed a little bigger than me in the photos, but what do I know? Actually, sarcasm is one of my strengths, and it usually pissed her off when I turned my sarcastic wit on her. She tried to brush it off. Those pictures are fake. It wasn't what it looks like. It was just sex. I only love you. She went on and on. She actually flipped through the cheater's handbook and then started repeating herself until I refused to talk until she ran out of breath. I try not to interrupt as I hate those who do, and I hate myself for my rash actions. Finally, she collapses onto the bed, the same one where we hadn't cuddled, snuggled, or had anything remotely resembling sex in the last 5 months. The waterfall began. I might have ended the confrontation, but I knew that Christy, as an amateur actress, could let a tear fall at any moment. I let her go a little. I wasn't in a hurry, but I felt like she was in a hurry. After all, she had to meet her girlfriends in a few minutes. When the snot started to subside, I handed her a box of tissues. "Why don't we keep going? I know your girlfriends are waiting." I didn't use quotation marks since she didn't look up, but the chuckle in my voice at the word girlfriends made her look up. Perhaps she wasn't kidding and was really crying, as she had to repeat herself several times before I finally realized what she was saying. "What now? How do we get to the point where you forgive me and love me again?" I wanted to grin wryly, but held back. I let my shoulders slump a little. "First, you come out as you planned. I agree that you've been in mother mode for too long. Obviously, you don't consider me a lover anymore, so go spend time with your girlfriends." I used the quotation marks again. Christy flinched. "Stop it! You know how much it pisses me off." I shrugged visibly now. "Like I care." I paused to let her comprehend what I'd said. She was at a loss for words, as I had never spoken to her like that before. I continued. "As I said, go and get out of this house for the evening, night, whatever you like. I will take care of your offspring while you are gone." She started to speak, but I shut her up. "When you come back, I'll be gone. You've been so self-absorbed lately that you haven't noticed that I've put away everything I'd like to keep. Everything's been moved to my new apartment." I tossed her a package. "Here's a copy of my divorce papers. It's just a courtesy copy. You'll receive the official notice tonight. Do you want it to happen in front of your friends or at Bill's? It's your choice." She answered nothing, looking at the innocuous envelope the size of a legal document as if it were a snake. "Oh well, the server will have to decide when the time comes. FYI, on Monday, my attorney will be filing a motion with the court to have my name removed from Samuel's birth certificate. In the filing packet is the result of a DNA test that shows I can't be his father. I don't know if Bill Bailey is the father, but I don't care at all." I have no idea how much of an impact my revelations had on her mind, but now I was done. I was sure Sam needed a diaper change. He may not be my son, but I certainly wasn't going to neglect him. He might even need to be fed, so I guess I should get a bottle of Christy's breast milk and start the warming process. I left Christy sitting on the bed, still looking at the envelope. Her fantastic makeup was ruined. Damn, that's a shame. Wrong word. Now I know the haters will cringe. How could I have been so heartless and cruel? Don't I have any feelings for my wife of 10 years? Of course you do. When I found out what she does when she's not with me, I was devastated. I sat in my chair and cried. Christy didn't seem to notice anything. I became depressed. Along with this came insomnia and lack of appetite. I don't drink, so I didn't drink in excess. I lost weight. Once again, Christy didn't pay attention. She was preoccupied with Bill and Samuel. After checking and finding out that Samuel was not my son, I decided to accept it and not give up, even though he was not my biological son. After making this decision, I started eating again and signed up at the dojo to find my center and work out my frustration. It improved my mental state, and the exercise helped me sleep. All was well until Christy announced that she was going to start having bachelorette parties last week, and this Friday would be the first night. I concluded then that she was continuing to date Bill and that it was time for a final confrontation. As I fed Samuel, I thought about how I had ruined Christy's plans for tonight. I allowed myself a slight smile of satisfaction. Not a sound came from the bedroom. I had no idea if she was still going out. In fact, I was hoping she would leave so I could finish packing up my last few things and move them to the car. Samuel was finally done. I regurgitated and put him to bed. I made myself some hot tea with honey as a sweetener, sat in my chair and turned on the flat screen. I opened the YouTube app and started watching cat videos. They always helped keep me entertained and relaxed. After about 20 minutes, I heard a quiet sound as the door to the garage from the kitchen closed. Then I heard the garage door motor start up. A few minutes later, the door started again, and I realized I was alone with Samuel. I found myself leaning forward anxiously. With a deep sigh, I leaned back. Now I could finalize my exit from her life. As one famous person said, "It's over except for the screaming. Tomorrow would be a new day. It promised to be a beautiful one this time of year."